Colleen, our boy is a Catholic priest. Sean, I am bursting with so much pride that I'm going to have to go to confession. But I'm not going to you. I feel like a made man in the Catholic mafia. And you, Colleen, you're going straight to heaven. If you were in this tent, you played some role in Father Sean's vocation. And Colleen and I are so pleased to have you here and share our joy. When I'm done speaking, in about an hour or so, you will meet some of the most impactful. Please allow me to introduce a few right now. I'd like to start with Sean's grandparents. What a blessing here to have all four of Sean's grandparents here with us tonight. Or better yet, to have four grandparents that have demonstrated such fidelity. Rear Admiral Jim and Irma Koehr are about to hit their 57th wedding anniversary. And Colleen's folks, Jack and Beth Koehr, are about to hit 60 in a couple weeks. I'm quite sure that their loving example of Christian marriage has been instrumental in your vocation, Sean. I'd like to have a special shout out to my mother. Mom, look around. You've come a long way from the orphaned youngest daughter of Italian immigrants in a company coal mining town. To paraphrase a recent play at Seton, you're not in Iowa anymore. And we're so pleased to have so many priests and seminarians and even a bishop with us tonight. I'd like to especially welcome two. When Bishop Burbage's feet hit the floor each morning, Satan says, "Oh crap, he's awake." I'd love to take credit for that one, but I stole it from Josiah Bookwalter. Thanks, Chewy. We're so blessed to have you in our diocese, Bishop, and our home. You're exactly the leader that Christ Church needs in Arlington right now. And as Sean's father, I could not be more pleased that he's entering the priesthood under your leadership. And of course, Father Serby, Colleen and I feel like we've already had a priest in the family for many years. Father Serby, where are you? There he is, Father Serby. Father Serby's Exhibit A1, that joy is the key to evangelization. I'm not sure I've even fully absorbed the impact you've had on our family, Father. Trips abroad, confessions in the man room, in the driveway, family dinners, swimming in the pond, and who knows, your joyful example, large and small, might lead to another vocation in our family, we sure hope. I can see already it's led to strong marriages. Just outstanding. I can't express my words of gratitude to you for the impact you've had on our family, Father. Thank you. And finally, Sean's mother, Colleen. For those of you here with lots of kids, you've heard some variation on 12 kids, all from one woman? I just love telling people, yeah, all from my first wife. I'm sure I know Colleen and her wisdom were a big part of Sean's vocation. Colleen intuitively understood as a young mother that we're all born entirely selfish, and children don't just grow out of that automatically. As infants, we even cry to get whatever we want. Some of us still do. It's a manifestation of original sin, I suppose. But even as a young mother, Colleen used to focus on getting a kid out of their self-centered way. She used to refer to the process of getting a kid out of that mindset as breaking them. Like a horse. In fact, if kids are like horses, Sean was the toughest of Broncos. In fact, Sean's been causing problem for Colleen since the day he was born at 10 pounds, 13 ounces. I see a lot of mothers cringing. I remember early in Sean's time at the seminary, they sent them back to their home parish to tell their vocation stories. So Sean comes back to St. John's, and we weren't at his first Mass. It was Saturday night because we go to 9 o'clock Mass. Colleen goes to 9 o'clock Mass no matter what happened on Saturday night. So as soon as the Mass was over, Colleen's phone was beeping and binging and buzzing, and all these mothers calling Sean, "Oh, Colleen, he's angelic. How did you do it?" So Sean comes through the little hallway, through the mudroom into the kitchen, and there's his mother. And Sean's clearly got a look on his face like, I did good first time. And Colleen hits him square between the eyes and said, "Sean, you have to tell those women the truth. You were a pain in my butt." So I know that Sean's received a lot of such guidance from his mother, and now I'm going to take a crack at it. Sean, it probably doesn't surprise you that I'm going to take a crack at, after the bishop proclaimed his expectations of you, I'm going to take a crack at your father's expectation. Now, I don't have the experience you and your brothers and sisters have in Mrs. Carroll's senior religion class. I don't have a 4-year philosophy degree from Notre Dame. I don't have 7 years of in-depth education and formation in the seminary. But I have been able to answer some of the deeper theological questions from my children, like, Dad, are the charioteers the girl chariots? Actual question. But that lack of formal theological training is not going to stop me to give you my thoughts on what makes a great priest. Now, my goal here is to describe your father's expectations. For you younger ladies here, particularly those with initials like, say, CMK or SCC, I hope you're paying attention, because the expectations I'm about to describe aren't all that different from the expectations you should have of a man in your life later on. Sean, one caveat. You've played sports at a very high level most of your life, and I always told you, if I ever give you guidance that contradicts what your coach says, do what your coach says. That applies doubly here, especially since he's sitting here. I doubt he's going to say anything that I doubt I'm going to say anything he'll disagree with, but knowing you and your mother, I'm confident that if I do, I'll hear about it before I get my next beer. So number 1, be holy. You once told me that you wanted to become a priest because you wanted more. Remember what more is. More is your interpersonal relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not going to pretend I fully understand that on the level that you'd better at this point. But I do know 3 things. Number 1, I know that Christ said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit, because without me you can do nothing." So he's called you to have a deeply personal relationship with him. And I know that if your motivation comes from a source other than that, then you'll be secretly motivated by a variety of things, none of which are going to be good for your vocation. The second thing I know is a deeply personal relationship takes effort. In your case, that's got to be a dedication to prayer, which I know you already understand. I've noticed one thing in my life, though. If something was very important to me, I did it first thing in the morning. It was true when I used to train for triathlons, which obviously isn't that important to me any longer. It was true when we did the Exodus 90 exercise recently, and I'm sure it's quite true of a person as busy as a dedicated priest. So block the first hour, even if you have the 6:30 Mass, because getting up at 5 is later than you used to get up for swimming practice. And third, I know that being a priest is a very demanding job. If you lose track of the more, and allow it to just become vanity, I think all you'll have left is a very demanding, lonely job that requires you to work weekends for the world's largest bureaucracy and really crappy pay. So that sounds like less to me, not more. So I can't say I know this for sure, but I bet that any priest who's lost his zeal for the priesthood first lost his intimacy with Jesus Christ. And that left him without the more that you were telling me about. So Sean, be holy. That is your Father's expectation. Number 2, be a man. You need to be a real man because that is what God made you. We have men as Catholic priests for a reason, because Jesus picked men. I've had people tell me that Jesus picked men because he was succumbing to the social norms of the day. He was God. He violated every social norm of the day. He was so politically incorrect, he literally risked his life every single day of his ministry. So I don't believe for a minute that Jesus picked men for any reason other than the way God made men. Now, how did God make men? You once gave me a book, a great book. It's one of the books that you gave me that I read all the way to the last page. It's called Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. And it was a book about raising boys. And the basic thesis is that there's 3 desires that make boys and men unique in the world. A man's heart has a desperate desire for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. The battle, you certainly have a battle on your hands. Satan's all around us, even inside our own church. The guy's good, we have to admit it. So you're going to have to be better. As a child of 911, we always heard, see something, say something. That's not going to work for you. If you see something, do something. If this church, it doesn't need any more nice boys. Being a nice boy is pitifully insufficient. What it needs is strong men who can occasionally kick some ass in the money changers in the temple. The adventure. Adventure requires something of us. It puts us to the test. Think about the recipe for the perfect boys game. Start with a challenging activity. Add a little exploration. Throw in a heavy dose of danger. And mix it all together with your brothers and friends. And voila, you have the perfect boys adventure. Challenge, exploration, danger with people you love. Sounds a lot like the recipe for the adventure you signed up for this morning. Christ had 1,000 days. Hopefully you'll have 20 times that. I've always had really high expectations for you. I don't expect you to accomplish what he accomplished, but that's your model. Treat your time following Christ like the greatest adventure you could live. Live it like with a sense of wonder about how the Holy Spirit works in your life and in the world. And relish the opportunities to step into the challenging situations, the dangerous situations, and the beauty. There's definitely a beauty that needs to be rescued here. Christ Church. Predators surround her. Men must be her protectors. Real men stand up to evil and injustice for those who can't stand up for it themselves. I don't think it's a coincidence that we refer to the church in the feminine, because men are her protectors. So your vocation is the perfect role for you to fulfill your purpose as the man that God made you. I know you like C.S. Lewis, so I dug up a C.S. Lewis quote. About 80 years ago, C.S. Lewis said, "We castrate and bid the geldings be fruitful." Sounds even more true today. You're no gelding. You're a great black stallion. You even wear black. Coincidence? I think not. So if you ever want to celebrate your manhood with a bourbon, a 50-ring cigar, I know just the guy to do it with. So please don't forget to come home every once in a while. Sean, be a man. That's your father's expectation. Number 3, be faithful. I never understood the concept of a Catholic priest that didn't fully accept the teachings and teaching authority of the church. How could a man commit his entire being in the service of the church and not go all in on the church's teaching and tradition? I say it like it's easy. I know it won't be. You have committed your whole being to the church founded by Christ himself, the most impactful non-governmental organization in the history of the world. It's quite true that over the history of the world, the Catholic Church has been led by some men who have behaved quite badly, some outright evil. And I know you learned a lot about all those men in Mrs. Carroll's classes at Seton. But remember this, Christ Church is bigger than the men who lead Christ Church. It's even bigger than you, Sean. Sean, you are now the most liberally educated member of our extended family by far. You are also now the caretaker of 2,000 years of church tradition. Without tradition, the truth, along with the magisterium of the Catholic Church, is left to the whims of flawed men. Never allow yourself to fall in the trap I see so many highly educated people fall into. Never allow yourself to become so arrogant that you substitute your judgment of the truth for the tradition and magisterium of the church, or even the laws of readily observable natural law. But for heaven's sakes, you got to meet people where they are. I remember being castigated once in the confessional for not knowing the exact words of the act of contrition. I never thought it was all about the dance steps. It's about the dance. But I do know ritual is an important part of the church. And like a lot of your future parishioners, I want to do the dance steps right. I even want to do them perfectly. So why not just hang a copy of the act of contrition in the box for me? Or even better, I don't know, is there some formula you learn in seminary where you give them 2 Hail Marys for yelling at your kids, 5 Hail Marys for killing someone, and 6 Hail Marys for driving slow in the fast lane? How about something like this? Hey, Jim, you had 9 kids graduate from Seton and 3 more on the way. Don't you think it would be a little embarrassing if you ever got in a large public event where there's lots of Seton people in attendance and it came out that you did not know the exact words of the act of contrition? But hey, your secret's safe with me. So for your penance, go memorize the act of contrition and say it 3 times without looking. Father Scalia, who I wish was able to make it, calls that truth with charity. I really like that. So, Sean, be faithful. That is your father's expectation. Number 4, be joyful. From Father Serby's living example, you know personally more than anybody how attractive joy can be. We have far too many dour Catholics in this world. Think about what we believe. It's absolutely incredible, but we believe God sent his only son. He died for us voluntarily, opened the gates to heaven, and even our suffering is redemption. Are you kidding? If we actually believe that, how could we ever be unhappy? But it's impossible for most humans, and I admit I get unhappy. But this is what I do know. I know that a dour Catholic does more to harm the work of evangelization than an outright unfaithful one. Because at least the unfaithful ones aren't pretending we have something special. But let's be practical about it, because you have a very demanding job. You're going to be dealing with people in trouble. There's going to be times when you're unhappy. So here's 2 practical pieces of advice. Number 1, your smile is your most potent weapon. And I'm not talking about your smile in general. I'm talking about your particular smile. When you smile at someone, you're telling them that you bring joy into their life. And that opens them up. It applies in group settings too. There's times you have to be serious as a priest. But some of the most powerful homilies I've ever heard were given with a big grin. And here's the second practical advice I give. When the demands you're dealing with are just too much and you get overwhelmed, like me flipping out in the kitchen during swimming season, I find it very helpful to remember Michigan football. Yeah. Yes, I too, like Sean, am a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. But I love their coach. Michigan's coached by Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is a very strong, solid Catholic man. He even took the Michigan football team to the Vatican. And Coach Harbaugh is famous for asking his team, who's got it better than us? To which they answered, nobody. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. Now, I don't know what the great philosophers that you've studied say about joy, but I've always found this in my little simple philosophical system, that the key to true joy is gratitude. And it's one of the reasons why I find myself so joyful tonight. And on joy, I think you might be able to take a lesson from your brother Patrick. If I were a Catholic priest tomorrow and I were standing in the back of the church and I believed I was about to turn the bread and wine into the real body and blood of Christ, I think I might stand in the back of the church, look up toward heaven, and yell, "This is literally going to be the best Mass ever!" So, Sean, be joyful. That is your Father's expectation. Number 5, be excellent. Father Serby's also proven over and over again that excellence is very attractive. It's always pleased me to know that you had so much guidance and direction from Opus Dei during your time at Notre Dame. From that you learn that everything you do in daily life, no matter how mundane, should be done for the glory of God. In other words, excellence is not merely compatible with Catholicism. Excellence is required by Catholicism. What that means is everything you do in your life, you do the absolute best that you can. As Grandpa Koehr might say, don't do anything half-ass. That should start with the way you encounter most people in your ministries. That's going to be with your homilies. You are superior already. We've talked about this before, but here's Dad's 30-second homiletics class. Okay, you got to hook me in the first 10 seconds because, as you yourself said, I'll zone out until the creed. You have to tell me a story. You have to explain the story, and then you got to end the homily with a twist on your hook. And then the way you spice it up with some humor, the occasional self-deprecating remark, and some of those impressions that you are so good at. I really hope I'm at Mass the time you find a way to use Monty Python in your homily. And that's the formula. 8 to 10 minute, great homily, country music song formula. You're among the best. You are truly among the best I've heard, even before you were a priest. I remember vividly you had a homily, your call to holiness, with Ben Hur's Row Well and Live. I still remember the whole homily. Or your call to the cross with Ernest Shackleton's advertisement for his crew on his Antarctic expedition. Those were really good, truly good. Do that. The key point here is there's the power of stories. That's why Jesus spoke in parables. That's why we have stained glass windows in all our church. That's why we celebrate saints. They're stories. They're examples. There's a never-ending supply of these stories, and they don't have to be saints and biblical stories, as you've found out. They could be movies. They could be history. You could do a whole year on just Civil War examples. So an excellence should extend beyond the homily into everything you do. The energy you put into confession, the love you show the grieving family, the patience you show to a mother who's struggling with her children or her marriage. It should even extend to the more mundane things that you do, like running a church meeting. I never understood why church meetings go from 7:30 to 9 independent of content. It doesn't have to be that way. Or the way you dress. Shine your shoes. Press your shirt. I don't think color coordination is going to be a big issue. So be excellent. That is your Father's expectation. And finally, be a leader. Sean, I know you remember Mom's grandfather, Pops. To the rest of you, Pops was a wonderful old Irishman who proved that the fountain of youth flows with Schmitt's beer and vodka. Well, Pops used to say, hard work ain't easy. I never agreed with that. Especially now that you're on a mission from God. No, I always believed, my experience is hard work is the easy part. The hard part is being responsible. To be a great priest, you have to be a great leader. When you pray to God to send someone to make something better, why don't you instead pray to give you the grace to make something better? You're the person that answers other people's prayers. You've been a leader your whole life, so you know what it means to be a leader. But I'm going to tell you 4 things. These 4 key principles of leadership, and with these 4 things, you can get someone to follow you anywhere, even to Christ. And they work independently of the situation. It could be a business, a school, a club, a family, a high school swimming team. But I know this will work particularly well in the Catholic Church. People will follow you anywhere if they know you love them, if they feel they are personally getting better, if they feel part of something bigger than themselves, and if they feel like they're winning. Now, I doubt you're going to find it difficult to figure out how to apply the first 3 of those 4. Your parishioners should definitely know you love them. You should always be striving to make people better, and you have many, many tools to do that. And it's difficult to imagine that someone who's even a little bit faithful to the church can't see the church as something bigger than themselves. The challenge in today's world is going to be making people feel like they're winning. In my own mind, the church took a huge step toward that this morning. The quality of the men I saw ordained this morning, the quality of the men I've met in our seminary, and there's 15, I understand, quality men who are in the application process for the seminary just in this year's class. That is how we're going to win. And when people see that, they're going to feel like we're winning. So no pressure, Father Eisenberg. Where's Father Eisenberg? Father Eisenberg, we need a continued stream of holy, strong, joyful, talented men like the ones in your pipeline today. All right. So Sean, be a leader. That is your father's expectation. Okay, I've spoken far too long. So let me conclude with this very personal message. To my son, Father Sean. Sean, be holy. Be a man. Be faithful. Be joyful. Be excellent. Be a leader. Those are your father's expectations. And they're my expectations too. At the risk of being hyperbolic, a risk I'm going to gladly take, because this is what I believe. There's countless stories in history where the right man at the right time, in the right place, for the right mission. Call me prideful, Sean. I think you're that man. I love you. Now go do something great.